Okay, our not our last speaker, second to the last speaker, but not least, is Pastor Antoine Lamar Miller. He's from Oakland. He pastors the Rehoboth Christian Fellowship in East Oakland, and I read the verse that he has on his card, where the Lord has made room for you. And I say we've made room for unborn children and people who are innocent and vulnerable. So I like that verse on his card. So let's welcome Pastor Miller.
Amen. Let's give God a hand of praise just for allowing us all to be out here in this beautiful sunshine in San Francisco on today. I am, to say the least, excited to be here on today, to stand in this rally for religious freedom, because if there was ever a time, a song once said that we needed the Lord before, we sure enough need him right now. As we who are believers are seemingly under attack in every angle of life, I think it's time that we stand up for what it is we believe in, who it is that died to save our souls, and to continue to give God all glory possible out of our bodies until he calls us to be home with him. There's just a few things that are on my mind that really has me bothered. I come from a community that it has been said this health mandate would benefit the most. I was born and reared right in East Oakland. I grew up in a neighborhood where there was a Planned Parenthood not too far from my home. And I seen young African American, I seen young Latino girls go in there all day, every day, having their babies killed and looking at lives that had forever been changed by what was done by doctors who had no care or concern for them. I live in a community where condoms and contraceptives are passed out in public school systems to our children without permission of the parents. I live in a community, my brothers and sisters, where we are constantly under attack, where our children are being taught doctrines and mandates that don't agree with what we are teaching our children at home. I live in a world, and we all live in a world, where we who are believers have been told to train up a child in the way it should go, and when he is old, it shall not depart from him. But yet, every morning when we send our children out of our doors to go to school, or when they're at home by themselves, they're under a constant barrage and attacks by this world and the ruler of this world, Satan himself, teaching them to do things that go against the God that we believe in and that we serve. I am upset, my brothers and sisters, when we speak of this health mandate and how it's supposed to help the poorest of those in our communities, but there is a dirty little secret to this mandate that they don't share with us, that in 2014, when it is enacted, those that don't have the coverage will be penalized $95 for not having it. What it also don't share with us quite often, and thank you, Chris, because I read legislation that our legislators don't often read, that in 2015 it goes up to $395. In 2016 it goes up to $695. How is this going to help anyone who cannot afford health care to begin with to be penalized by a government that says everyone should be covered and then penalizes you simply for being born and not being able to afford the coverage that the government is shoving down our collective throats and saying it is for the good of all of us? I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a nanny state where government is telling me what is going to be best for me and my family. I thank God he's given me the ability to raise my children in the fear and the nurture of God, and to look on some things in society and not look at them on a racial issue, but look on them as a God issue and recognize what the world is trying to do to us. And if it's not just the health care initiative, but when we look at this whole same-sex marriage thing that is sweeping the country, where our Christian liberties are being stepped on, pushed down, and we are being told that we need to go ahead and accept it. As a black minister in this country, I need to tell President Obama, stay the HE double hockey sticks out of my church. Let me preach Christ while you preach government, because you don't know what's best for the children of God. Oh, you can clap right there. We are living in a world where there are those who say that they are believers, but are legislating and mandating things that are not of God.
That's right.
The Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs, chapter number 6, that there are 6 things that God hates. One of those is a lying tongue. And we were lied to 4 years ago when we were told that there would be change. We were lied to when we were told that there would be hope. And yes, things have changed, but not for the better, but for the worse. And yes, there is hope because we are facing hopeless situations in our communities where government is trying to tell us what's best. When it comes to the same-sex marriage issue, I have a great concern for the Church of Jesus Christ. I have a great concern because as men of God stand up to say that we're not going to support same-sex marriages, in Hawaii at the beginning of this year, 2 churches, one of them the Emmanuel Church of God, a Pentecostal church that would not support same-sex marriages in its church, was turned down by the court of Hawaii that said that they have to allow same-sex marriages to happen inside of their churches. That is a problem for me when they tell us that our clergy don't have to perform it, but as nonprofit entities in the community, we have to do what government wants us to do. I say no, and let me just borrow from Father on today. We cannot, we must not, and we will not allow government to tell us how we'll worship, who will marry. We will stand up and we will be the people of God that this age needs. It is time for us to recognize that our silence shows our complacency and willing to let things run on as they are. Our silence shows that we are complicit with the government that wants to run the church out of business so that Satan can take control of the country that we're living in. And it's time for us to stop being silent, but it's time to speak up and to stand up. Because if we speak up and we stand up, there will be change in our communities. If we speak up and we stand up, hope will be restored to black boys and black girls, Latino boys and Latino girls that have been told this blessing that is inside of them is a choice that they can eradicate so that they can live a life free of the burden of raising a blessing that God, even if it was through sin, allowed them to have in their lives. It's time for us to speak up and to stand up that there will be change right here in San Francisco, over in Oakland, California, in Alameda, down in Los Angeles, to the hallowed halls of the White House. It's time that we speak up and say that we're not going to lay down and allow government to step on us anymore. It's time for believers to stand up and to speak up and say that we are that remnant that will change this nation that we're living in.